Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Appsmith Innovate, the most exciting virtual conference dedicated to all things Appsmith. I'm your host for today, Kevin Blanco, Senior Developer Advocate here at Appsmith, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today to kick off this incredible event. Before we dive into the amazing sessions lined up for today, let's take a moment to get comfortable and connect with one another. So I love to ask you, where are you tuning in from? We have a global audience today. So let's see where's everyone joining us from. Feel free to share your location in the chat. It's always fascinating for me to see the diversity of our community. Hey, I'm not alone here today. I have a big lineup of different people talking about AppSmith. We have our co-founders, CEO, CTO, and all of our amazing product team. I also have with me today Ron. He's the head of our DevRel team. So I'm going to bring Ron here. Hey, Ron, how's it going, man?
Hey, how we doing, everybody? Yeah, this is exciting. We've been working on this for a while. We've got some really great stuff lined up. I'm pretty excited, and always good to see all the folks coming in and where they're coming from. Wow, we have people from everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah, look at that. We have a lot of people joining, people from New Jersey, look at that, Germany, Bangalore, India. We have people from Paris, Florida, Thailand. Well, that's amazing. We have, like I said, a very big and global community. So feel free to, let us your message on the chat. We'll love to connect. And I personally have seen what Ron has been working on for this event, and let me tell you, it has been amazing, a lot of work. But I know that we have prepared big things for you guys.
So, real quick, before we jump in,
Mhm.
Kevin, do you mind if I take a second to just kind of throw out just one little advertisement?
Sure, go ahead. It's all yours.
Okay, well, so for folks who don't know, we've been working really hard on this event, and we're really excited to have it. We've got good stuff to show you. But right now, also, we have Hacktoberfest going on, and there are a lot of different ways that people can contribute. And one of the things that we're doing that is a little bit different is actually encouraging and enabling people to contribute, not just by writing code, but by creating and sharing apps, because we have a new feature that lets you share apps as templates with the community. In fact, we've already had a couple of contributions already. So I won't take any time to go into the details there. There's plenty of information online. You can reach out to us. But if you want to take part, if you've got something cool that you've built that you think someone else might find useful, if you have a cool idea for something that you might want to build, whether it's simple, whether it's complicated, we do have the ability for you to now create and share templates from directly within the platform out to the community. And as long as we're taking part in Hacktoberfest, you can win some prizes for doing so. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that.
Great. That is actually true. We are in the middle of Hacktoberfest. That's a huge reminder we wanted to do today. Join us on Discord. Hacktoberfest.appsmith.com has all the information. You are going to learn a lot. We are there to help, and also you're going to win some prizes. So it's a win-win situation, right, Ron?
Exactly. So anyway, just want to take a moment to do that. But yeah, I think we can jump in.
All right, perfect. So let's spread the excitement. Before we kick in with the first session, I want you all to share the excitement with your friends and colleagues who might benefit from the insights and innovations we are about to uncover. The more, the better, right? So, also, I want you to feel like home during this conference. Grab your favorite beverage. For example, here I have my Appsmith tea. Hey, there you go. I also have water here. We got to stay hydrated and stay comfortable in your virtual seat, and let's embark into the exciting journey of discovery and learning together. Let me show you an agenda we have prepared for today. First of all, we're going to go through some company updates and trends in internal tools by our CEO Abhishek. Then Nikhil, another co-founder, is going to take on the roadmap review. Another co-founder and CTO of our company, Arpit, is going to take on a big journey around technical details and the security of the design of Appsmith. Then we have Ron, who's joining us today, also talking about Appsmith in the real world. He's going to share customer interviewing, how customers are leveraging Appsmith to solve their business problems. Then Joseph, and I am particularly interested in this one. Joseph is going to go through 10 amazing tips and tricks on how to use Appsmith. And he's going to go hands on. He's going to show us tips and tricks on a day to day on how to build Appsmith applications. And last but not least, Ron is going to share with us reusability and the community library and how you can leverage all of these reusability components we are creating so it's going to be easier for you to create and manage your Appsmith applications. Sounds really interesting, right? Well, that's a big lineup that we have for today. So I hope you're as excited as I am for today's agenda. We got a lot to cover, and I can't wait to dive into these sessions with all you. Remember, the goal of this event is to educate, excite, and help you strive. And I'm confident we'll achieve all of that. Now, without further ado, let's jump into our first session with our CEO and co founder and get ready to be amazed.
Hi, I'm Abhishek Nayak. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Appsmith. I'm excited to talk to you today at Appsmith Innovate. I have a few updates from the world of internal apps and Appsmith to share with you today. First, we've seen an incredible year of growth at Appsmith. We've seen 500% increase in businesses and enterprises who use Appsmith to build their internal applications. We spent a lot of time last year building out necessary features for businesses and enterprises to adopt Appsmith and ensure all their internal applications are secure and can scale across the entire organization. So I'm happy to see that we have good results here. We've also seen a lot of growth for our open source project. We're at nearly 30,000 GitHub stars. These are developers from all around the world using Appsmith to build CRUD applications, admin panels, dashboards, etc. for their organizations. So I'm quite happy to see that. This is also reflected in the fact that we have now 10,000 plus active monthly Appsmith instances. These are companies, teams that are using Appsmith to build internal applications, and they're self-hosting it, which means their applications are all in their environment and are secure. So 10,000 is a really good number, and I'm so happy that we are here. We've also seen a lot of progress in our product. You're going to hear from my co-founder Nikhil about our product features, but we've shipped nearly 20 plus platform features for Appsmith, which are focused on the developer experience as well as focused on helping companies adopt Appsmith for their entire business user teams. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. So this has been a great year, and thank you so much for being part of this. Now, as a company, we are really focused on two major things. First is providing a great developer experience. A great developer experience for us means great documentation, support, easy to get started with Appsmith, ensuring there are the right templates that help you get started, ensuring everything that a developer needs to build and to share the apps across their engineering team, that should be super easy. So that's been a big focus for Appsmith, and it'll continue to be a focus for Appsmith. The second thing that's a focus for us is to ensure that we are able to deliver real business outcomes for our customers and for our companies who adopt Appsmith. Internal applications which are easy to use, fast to load, good looking, and simple to use for business users, they have a lot of potential to be adopted across the organization and therefore deliver a real business outcome. Let me talk a little bit about the business outcomes that we've delivered for some companies that have adopted Appsmith. First, I want to talk about InstaWork. InstaWork is an organization that built a customer 360 portal for their support agents so that the support agents didn't have to go look at multiple disparate tools, disparate data sources to do their work. A single Appsmith application could talk to many different APIs and data sources. So they could really build everything that the support rep required in a single application. Now, this saved time for agents, but most importantly, it actually created an amazing customer experience. And a great customer 360 is often at the heart of an amazing customer experience. So we're excited to see InstaWork build it, but we are also excited to see more companies build customer 360 applications on top of Appsmith. Then we have Hi-Fi. Now, Hi-Fi is a customer of Appsmith that uh, in fact, recently just got acquired by Block or Square. They had built a CRM tool for customer onboarding. This customer onboarding helped them service new customers 50% faster. And this was built by a technical product manager because she had SQL skills and she could actually build everything required for her first application. And this CRM application actually created this amazing customer onboarding experience, amazing customer experience, and therefore they were able to achieve their business goals, and they were able to achieve all of this really, really fast. We then have another customer here called File. Now, File built a support request tool for their customer success teams. File is a B2B SaaS company. Now, they deployed Appsmith on a private instance and they built an application that was securely talking to their production database. This meant the customer success team could now have read as well as write access without exposing their production database to the internet or without accessing the database credentials. And this tool helped them turn around customer requests a lot faster, and it reduced their engineering workload and reduced their the cost of engineering here. So all in all, like, great for customers and great for File. Now, there's a common thing between these companies. They use Appsmith to automate manual and inefficient processes. Previously, they might have had to go to multiple tools, or maybe they were relying on Google Sheets, Excel, and other inefficient processes. They could now automate that with Appsmith. The second thing was, these customers, they often were replacing some sort of an internal application that was no longer working that well. It was no longer serving the purpose. Maybe it was outdated, or maybe it was just too difficult to maintain and add new features to, or it had just slowed down completely. So these companies could actually replace their old janky internal apps with something that's built on Appsmith. Therefore, it's better UX, it's performant, and it's easier to maintain. And they did all of this without changing the way that they work. Because the way that these companies work is part of their core differentiation, is part of the reason why they succeed with their customers. And by using Appsmith, they could actually build something that works the way they work. Instead of modifying the way that they work, they just build something that helps them continue their secret sauce that keeps them differentiated in the marketplace. One of the things that we've learned is that our users are actually not looking for a low-code platform or for an internal applications platform. They're looking for solutions to their customer and business problems. They come to Appsmith when they believe there is something that needs to be built so that they can serve their customer in a particular way. Therefore, as Appsmith, we're actually getting focused on getting users to solutions a lot faster. And we're doing this with a mix of features like templates. Templates are pre-built examples of common apps that you can look at, reuse, copy, fork, modify, and use all of that to actually build the application that you desire. This will help you go from 0 to 1 really fast. The second thing that we've done is introduce a business edition, which comes with more security features like access control, multiple environments for your data sources, and audit logging so that you can actually record every single action that has taken place inside that application. This helps you ensure Appsmith can be deployed in your organization without having security issues. That's the second thing that we've done. The third thing that we've been focused on is ensuring the building experience for the developer is a lot more faster and a lot more simplified. It's a lot easy for you to bind data to a widget today, and it's also getting easy for you to build responsive applications that work across screen sizes and resolutions really quickly. This, along with other features like our JS library feature, our Git feature, all of that is actually helping you build a lot faster and do that a lot more simply. This is where a community actually plays a really critical role. A community helps developers build a lot faster with Appsmith because they share their experiences and best practices for building an Appsmith. They do that on Discord, or they do that by writing a blog post, or on Twitter, or on Reddit. We've also seen our community play a big role in unblocking and replying to support requests of new users. Our community is quite welcoming, and it's helped a lot of new users get started with a low-code platform like Appsmith a lot faster, so that they can actually build and deploy quickly. And finally, the third thing, we've seen community members also contribute to the project by writing technical documentation or fixing bugs or simply just providing high value feedback. They get on calls with our PMs, designers, and they give us a lot of feedbacks so that we can actually improve the project. And all of this is thanks to the community. So our focus on helping our community continues to be a key priority. We have two new community resources that I'm excited to talk about. First, we have a community portal. It's on community.appsmith.com. This is where we are now storing and recording all our content, how-to guides, tutorials, all sorts of useful information, tips and tricks so that you can get the best out of Appsmith. And you can contribute to this community portal very easily. So if you see something that you want to answer or see something that's interesting for the larger community, please go ahead and sign up for community.appsmith.com and start posting there. The second thing that we've done is introduced a share template library on community portal. You can now submit templates that you've built internally so that other people can now use that. Other people should be able to remix and fork those templates. This will be a set of templates that are actually created by users of Appsmith and not just the Appsmith team. And that means you can actually see real life examples of how other companies are building internal apps, and maybe you're going to find inspiration or you're going to find something that's actually useful for you to directly adopt. So these are the two things that we're doing on community. The last thing I want to talk about is Appsmith Free. With Appsmith Free, you get the advantages of open source and you also get easy access to all our business and enterprise features. Till recently, if you had to use our business and enterprise edition, you had to migrate all your open source data and all your open source applications to our enterprise and business edition. This was not really easy to do and it didn't create a great experience. So we've decided to introduce Appsmith Free, which is a single installation that actually helps you get all the free open source projects. But if you're interested, with a single click, you can actually access our business grade features and our enterprise grade features. Now, a lot of things basically remain the same. It's free forever. It's self-hosted, so that doesn't change. But you now have a single click upgrade to our business and enterprise tiers. And Appsmith Free will have feature parity with Appsmith's open source and community edition. So you should try this out. If you want to give the business and enterprise edition a shot and check out what those features are like, you should certainly give this a shot. And if you don't like it, it's a single click to downgrade back to just using our free and open source features. This is all I have for you today. And I'm really excited that all of you are attending Appsmith Innovate and have a great week ahead.
Well, that was amazing, right? Thank you, Abhishek, who just provided insights into the latest trends in internal tool. He deep dived into the state of internal tools in 2023 and offered valuable information to keep you ahead of the curve. Thank you so much, Abhishek. And I'm actually checking the chat right now. I'm seeing a lot of comments. I'm actually thrilled that I'm seeing so many people from so many places. We've got people from Georgia, United States, Delaware, Taiwan, Zimbabwe, Abu Dhabi. We have people from Singapore. We have people from all over the place. People from India. This is amazing. I'm actually thrilled to have all of these people here in this very, very nice conversation. Ron, what do you think about the first things we just got from our CEO, Abhishek?
Yeah, it was good stuff. I appreciate the fact that he's kind of being pretty open about how we're doing as a company, kind of what we've got going on, the strategies behind it, and then some of those announcements, right? Like the community portal is something that we've been working on for a while. It's been growing slowly, so hopefully people can go and check that out. And as I mentioned before, those community templates, and then Appsmith Free. So lots of good stuff, lots of big changes, and we're just getting started.
That is true. That's true. We have the community portal, but if you don't want to type in your browser, just scan the QR code that we have. Like I don't know how to point it, but we have it there. You can see it. But yeah, amazing. Let's go and deep dive into our second session. Nick Hill, our co-founder, will unveil the roadmap for Appsmith, giving us a sneak peek into the major features and themes for both 2023 and 2024. This is where you'll get the glimpse of what's coming up next. So I can't wait to see what's in the cook. So let's jump into this second session right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikhil Nandagopal, the Chief Product Officer here at Appsmith. And today I'm really excited to be talking to you about our roadmap. But first, I'd like to begin by expressing our heartfelt gratitude to the entire community. As an OSS platform, the community is central to pretty much everything we do, and that applies to our roadmap as well. A lot of the features we've shipped over the past year originated either as community issues on our GitHub or as community feedback. And that applies to a lot of the features we'll be working on over the next year as well. So thank you for that. One of the biggest updates we've made to our roadmap is that we've made it public so that you or anyone else can actually check it out. So head on over to our GitHub project and look under the project section for the roadmap project. Now, we appreciate that our users aren't building just to build. They're trying to solve real business problems. They're looking to automate tasks, replace legacy systems, and even help their teams work more efficiently together. Now, a lot of our recent updates have been geared towards helping teams achieve just that, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about them. We've tried to simplify application development with projects like the one-click data binding that enable you to bind data to your widgets with a single click. But not only that, inside widgets like a table widget, it will also generate all the queries you need to update the rows of your table as well as add new rows inside them. With this, all of your CRUD operations are now possible with a single click. But we understand that developers are using Appsmith for a lot more than just CRUD operations. So for more complex business logic, when you need to generate the code for it, we've introduced an AI copilot that you can prompt with natural language. The AI copilot can be accessed using the / command in pretty much any field inside Appsmith. And you will see a small prompt that you can use, as well as suggested prompts that will then generate the code snippet, whether it's a SQL query or a JavaScript binding that you can use to either filter your data or update your data in that particular field. Now, we also understand that a lot of the business logic is very complicated out there. But fortunately, there are plenty of JavaScript libraries that already accomplish them. And with that in mind, we've introduced the ability to use custom JavaScript libraries that are available as UMD builds all across the internet. You can use this feature inside the Entity Explorer on the left and go ahead and install any custom JavaScript library that you can find. We've seen many use cases of PDF generation, as well as analytics, as well as hashing functions that can end up being used and have simplified app development by a lot. But every developer also needs great development tools. And with that in mind, we've also introduced a debugging console so that you can debug the errors you may encounter while building your applications. Whether it's a linting error or a runtime error, all of them are captured in a single place, along with their stack traces and the entities responsible for them. You can even debug business logic errors using the console.log statements anywhere inside Appsmith. We've next introduced multiple data source environments so that you can configure staging and production versions of your data source and build your applications against the staging data before they go live to production. This ensures that all of your applications are thoroughly tested against staging data before they have a chance to interact with the production data sources. We've also improved our support for Git. We've made our Git feature a lot more stable with a lot more enhanced performance fixes as well as readable file structures. Readable files makes it much easier to do code reviews on all of your application changes. But not only must it be easier to build applications, we also need to be able to securely share them. With that in mind, we've expanded all of our access controls and security options by introducing features like SCIM user management. SCIM allows you to go ahead and sync all your user groups from your IDP. This means that if you've configured your groups already inside Okta or Auth0, they will be automatically synced with the Appsmith system, and you can then assign custom roles to them. These user groups and roles are also now programmatically accessible inside your Appsmith applications so that you can write custom business logic to hide and show various views inside your applications based on them. We've also introduced email verification as now a new mode of securing your form login. And also, we now have audit logging as part of our security and compliance processes. Now let's talk about what we're currently working on for the first half of next year. We're going to be shipping multiple features, but these are some of the key themes to look out for. The first is our core value proposition of beautiful applications. With Appsmith, UI building has already become a lot easier, but with our new auto layout system, it's going to simplify positioning, sizing, and alignment to a whole new degree. It's also going to make UX a lot easier with page layout options, and it's also going to make all of your applications accessible on any device because now the widgets are going to react to those devices. We also understand that UI customization is a core part of the value proposition. We're working on a framework to enable you to add new widgets to the platform, which are also of the same quality as our native widgets. We're also enhancing the framework so that the theming engine gets a lot better with more theme customizability options, but also more consistency as well. Our second theme is around code reusability. We know that application development goes a lot faster when you can reuse business logic and components across your applications. With that, we're introducing modules. Modules allows you to create custom reusable pieces of code, be it widgets, queries, or JavaScript, and package them into a single entity that can be shared across your application. You can also version control them and distribute them with ease, as well as check them into your Git history. The great part about modules is that it works just like an NPM package. Our third theme is around SDLC workflows. We know that each team has their own unique set of software development lifecycle practices, and we truly believe that Appsmith should be able to seamlessly fit into that software development lifecycle. In pursuit of that, we're extending support of multiple environments beyond just data to entire applications. With this, we will be able to set up separate branches for separate environments, pin those branches to those environments, and even control who can push to those particular branches. We'll also extend integration to CI/CDs so that we can receive webhooks and automatically trigger deployments on branches so that all of your application code can go live together. But these aren't the only workflows we're going to be talking about today. I'm very happy to announce we're also going to be launching workflow automations. Now, workflow automations are fairly common. There are many tools out there that do this. But Appsmith workflows are going to be unique because we are focusing to automate human-in-the-loop tasks that require approvals. These are multi-step, multi-user workflows such as KYC verification or refund approvals. And we understand that these can be quite difficult to build. Our workflows are also going to be developer-focused, as in everything Appsmith. This means that they're going to be completely code-enabled with the ability to refactor, modularize, and check in via Git version control. With that, we come to the end of our presentation and our roadmap review. I hope you enjoyed hearing about all the features that we shipped, as well as are very excited about the ones that we are working on. We are always looking for more feedback on our features, and if you'd like to participate in any of our beta programs for our features, you can request to be added to the beta cohort on our GitHub issues for that particular feature. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Nikhil, thank you so much for that amazing overview of Appsmith roadmap and what's coming up for our product. I already seen the excitement on the chat. People talking about the automation workflows, about the custom AI widgets. I know we have here all of your feedback on GitHub and all of the channels we have been talking about the things that you need, and that's where the product is headed towards, right, Ron?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I know he mentioned it multiple times, but I don't think many people outside the company actually realize how important our community feedback is to the entire organization, but specifically to Nikhil, who's heading up all of the product decisions. I'm in some of those discussions, and it always comes down to what's the feedback? What are we hearing from people? What do people want? What do they like? What do they not like? So definitely want to just encourage everybody to be very vocal, be very open. Reach out if you have something you like, you don't like. Our GitHub issues are open. You can go comment there. Discord, shoot us an email. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get your feedback in. But the things that you're seeing, the workflow automations, the custom widgets, the reusability, that is all coming because it's been things that people have asked for and have said is going to be important to them. And, we listen and we appreciate it.
Exactly. That's true. We definitely listen, and head on to this QR code that we're just showing right now, which is the product roadmap. You can go directly over there and see what we're working on, and also contribute and get feedback about the things that are coming up. If you are using Appsmith and you have a feature that you really want, make sure to speak, like Ron said, speak out on Discord, on the community portal, on the GitHub issues, and we're always hearing. So make sure to do that. Also, check out our latest release jam video in YouTube, where we deep dive into some of the latest features that Nikhil just said. For example, the contextual powerful AI prompts. I mean, I've been using that feature like a lot these last days. Like, for example, if you connect data source and you don't know how to do a SQL query, that's fine. You just ask contextual prompts AI, I need this, I need that. And it's going to understand your database structure. It's going to understand your widgets, your JavaScript objects, and it's going to give you actual useful responses and much more like the ESM JavaScript support. Now you can bring any type of JavaScript library into the table. So things are cooking up really nice, right, Ron?
Oh man, it's that's one of the things that we really drive towards, is trying to make it fast to build things, be very developer focused, let you do the things you want to do, and also to make it fun, make it enjoyable. And I've found, as a developer and in speaking to developers, one of the things that is most enjoyable in life is actually getting something done, like building something, delivering something, marking something off the list. It goes on and on. So the ability to drive and get things done, and to get kind of that feeling of accomplishment, it's a great thing. And so I'm just excited that we have more that we can do.
That's definitely true. So we have something next. I mean, we have a big agenda, so let's start moving to the next one. I'm particularly excited about the next one because obviously I'm a tech savvy, and I know a lot of you people in the chat are also very tech savvy. And that's what's going to be the next section. Our CTO and co-founder will deep dive into how Appsmith's architecture is designed to enforce security. We'll learn about open source and self-hosting, security compliance, and the measures taken to ensure that your data remains protected. This is why Appsmith is the choice for enterprise and security conscious organizations. So this technical journey begins now.
Hi, I'm Arpit. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Appsmith. Today we're going to talk about how Appsmith enables security-conscious organizations to build web applications. So let's get into it. First, we'll see how Appsmith works. So we've made Appsmith really simple to self-host within your own VPC, private cloud, or private network by shipping a single Docker container. You simply execute the command docker run Appsmith and you'll have Appsmith running in no time. Here we can see the architecture of Appsmith and what it looks like inside your environment. There's a single backend server coupled with MongoDB and Redis that is responsible for all of Appsmith's functionality. The backend server then communicates with your database, your private API, within your private with your private network connection, and can also communicate with external SaaS products like Slack, Zendesk, Twilio over the internet. Lastly, Appsmith can version control your apps using Git with any GitHub provider, any Git provider you choose. To begin with, I'd like to highlight that all communication with Appsmith and the external internet happens over HTTPS, and this is really easy to set up in your own environment through a single command. We even take away all of the pain of renewing your certificate at regular intervals, so you never have to face the awkward situation of having your SSL certificate expire. By design, all the sensitive credentials to your database server, any private authenticated APIs, or your Git provider are stored in an encrypted fashion with AES 256 in MongoDB. Once you save a password, it can only be used but not read by any user again. In addition to this, these credentials are never shared with the client's browser. This means that your end users or business users using your application will never be aware of which database they are accessing and what credentials are being used to do so. This ensures there is no information leakage here. We know that to build any application of reasonable complexity, we require code. And this JS code is executed in Appsmith on the browser in a sandbox environment. A design like this ensures that any intentional or unintentional bad code doesn't have access to the DOM or network APIs like fetch. This makes code writing in Appsmith secure by default. Self-hosting inside your own premises unlocks multiple benefits of performance, stability, and security. To begin with, self-hosting gives you the option to remain independent. With Appsmith, there is no vendor lock-in, and you aren't dependent on us to keep your apps running. Also, since Appsmith is co-located with your microservices, your databases, all API calls are lightning quick. This improved performance leads to greater stability. Since all data exchange is happening within your private network, Appsmith is a great solution to prevent unauthorized access to your data. And this is especially important for teams operating in highly regulated industries like banking or healthcare. Speaking of compliance, Appsmith Cloud is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And since Appsmith Cloud runs the exact same code as your self-hosted enterprise versions, users can be assured that their self-hosted Docker containers are built and maintained securely. So how did we achieve SOC 2 compliance? The first is Appsmith regularly engages with third-party security agencies and performs regular penetration testing to test the Docker containers, our AWS cloud configurations, and everything around how we build and deploy software. Any PII data is stored in an encrypted fashion because at Appsmith we take privacy and confidentiality very seriously. On request, we also have strict controls to dispose this PII data on any customer request. The entire Appsmith team follows the principle of least privilege, which means that each person on the team is given minimum access in order to accomplish their task. No more, no less. And lastly, any enterprise which is engaging with us has access to our SOC 2 report, our SOC 2 compliance, and in case as a customer, as a company, you are trying to achieve SOC 2 compliance, Appsmith sits very well in your entire stack. And the ultimate in security is the Appsmith Air Gap Edition. There is absolutely no communication with the external cloud, and it's perfect for users that require a very high degree of security and compliance. A lot of banking or healthcare providers actually opt for this sort of a setup. In this, as you can see, all of the AppSmith containers and communication is happening within the private cloud itself, and there is absolutely no communication to any external endpoint or third party SaaS provider. By default, AppSmith also disables access to third party SaaS providers like Slack or Zendesk in order to ensure that the integrity of the air gap environment remains. The only communication that happens with the browser is over HTTPS, and network administrators can ensure this communication happens seamlessly by opening certain ports to the actual browser so that end users or business users can access these business applications built on top of Appsmith. Here we took a quick tour of all of the security principles followed by Appsmith and how we enable users to build secure by default apps on the platform. Thank you.
Oh, Kevin, cannot hear you.
There you go. I was muted.
There we
Sorry
go. There
about
we
that.
go.
You hear me
Nice.
now? Well, I was saying thank you, Arpit, because security is critical for any organization, and it's great to see AppSmith commitment to it. So yeah, thank you so much, Arpit. And that was a really nice technical dive in with diagrams. So for all the tech savvies like I am, I'm really satisfied about that, right?
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I like so much about that. I know he's such a calm person. It's kind of, you don't get that across the level of passion and commitment, but the fact that the entire platform is specifically designed to be secure, and there's so many little decisions along the way that was put in place just so that bad things just can't happen in certain cases. I mean, nothing's completely secure 100%. You got to trade off security versus flexibility. That's why we go everything from the cloud all the way up to air gap, where it's not tied to anything. But so many of those decisions about how things are done, how the servers act the platform's acting as a proxy. It's just a really, really clever design from a security standpoint. And it's something I think most people just take for granted. They don't even realize how awesome it is.
That is completely true. Let me see if how can I. There you go. We're back here. Yeah, that's definitely true. And I have a challenge for people in the chat and people who are watching. Do you remember the agenda? If you remember the agenda, I want you to tell me what's the next session. I know we have a lot in the lineup, but if you remember, that's the challenge. Let us know in the chat. But if not, that's okay. I'll introduce you to the next session. And we have a nice new intro animation, which I wanted to show you because I'm really I'm playing it every 5 seconds because it looks really nice. That's a really cool animation, right?
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to see here. I don't know if anyone has guessed or remembered what's next on the agenda. I thought that was a good challenge.
Yeah. Well, Ron, I bet you know what it is because I know you were part of it, right?
I do know what it is. And actually, it's actually really good. I think one of the cool things about this is the fact that we actually get to hear from someone, not just from Appsmith, but from an actual customer who's actually using it. Talk about some of the challenges, the problems, how they are solving those problems with Appsmith. And Trisha, that's a good one, but we're not quite there yet. But actually, one of the things that's so great about this particular session is that you also get to hear some advice and some feedback from an actual user. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's true. I'm excited about Joseph's session as Trisha. I'm also looking forward, but definitely hearing from satisfied customers and diving into practical use cases, discovering why Appsmith is making a difference in the real world. It's definitely important. So let's see about our next customer story.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're pretty lucky that we're joined today by Duarte Carrera from EDIA. And Duarte, maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, so my name is Duarte Carrera, as you said. I'm Director of Data Analysis and Visualization at EDIA, which is a state-owned company operating in South Portugal, in Europe. And our main goal is to produce hydropower and distribute water for farmers, irrigation water use. So that's it, really.
Yeah. Well, so I know you've been using Appsmith a bit. We've had some really good conversations about it, but if we kind of take a step back, what was the primary business problem that you're trying to solve that led you to Appsmith in the first place?
Well, I think it's a very common story. We are a small team, 2 developers in the team, and we've been developing internal apps for a few years now. And what happens is eventually, as your portfolio grows, you start to put more hours into maintenance and have trouble developing new apps or new functionality. So you start having difficulty in that balance. You get to be slower and slower when people ask you new stuff, because you have to maintain the old stuff. So yeah, that's when we started looking for solutions to be faster and have less maintenance hours involved. So we have some legacy apps, but we can live with that. It's no big deal. What we really need to do is to answer new requirements, new business requirements. That's what we really need to do, and sometimes it can't wait. So we needed something to help us out in that regard.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a very common story, right? Like small team, no one has enough resources, no one has enough time. So how do you move faster? How do you be more efficient? And as you point out, it's not necessarily just about the tech debt of the legacy apps. Like if they're working, that's great. But just general maintenance, keeping the lights on takes time and energy, and there's never an end to the request, right? Everybody wants something or needs something, right? So I'm sure you did your research. We don't have to talk about all of the potential tools that you went across, but you chose Appsmith. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what it was that kind of stood out for you with Appsmith.
Well, we self-host most of our stuff. So being able to self-host was a big thing for us. We have some databases, internal databases. We don't like having that data flowing in and out of the company, and we feel that it gives us low latency and feedback. Also security of the data. I know this is everybody that works with cloud nowadays, but we still prefer in-house solutions. Then being open source and allowing to have no limits in the usage was very, very important. And also something that we usually doesn't occur to people is there's no trial period. So we even tried the solution, but we only had 30 days to conclude if it fitted our case or not. So not having a trial period is great. You do it on your own pace, and then you conclude if it fits you or it doesn't. So that's also something that was very important for us, to be able to study and see if it worked for us or not.
Great. And how have you seen your usage of Appsmith grow? I mean, you obviously, as you said, you kind of looked at it for a while, you tried some things out, but it sounds like from we've talked, you're finding more and more use cases. How has that kind of grown?
Well, it was very organic. So we started studying it, and to start with, we just had some SQL tables around we needed to read or filter or edit or update. So we started with simple things, and server-side paging, server-side filtering, stuff like that. We are a huge SQL users, so that fitted really well. And then we moved on gradually to more complex and complete stuff. Like we migrated a legacy app, which we use internally for our ticketing system. So we migrated that, and it had our 6 users in our department working with the app, see how stable it was, if people liked it, how they responded to that, and everything went well. So we started going after some other apps that we needed to do. And so finally we are at a stage where we are on a bigger project using Appsmith.
Got it. So kind of like starting small, figuring out how things work, looking for those quick wins, and then gradually adding more advanced features and looking for opportunities to deliver on the promise of what your team's trying to do for the organization. That's fantastic. So you guys looked around a lot. You chose Appsmith. You've been using it for a while now, kind of growing in your usage. What are some of the things, like just generally as a technical platform, what are some of the things that you guys like about Appsmith that makes it such a good fit for you?
Well, at the start, installing, setting it up is very easy and fast. You just then forget about it. It just works. And one of the main thing for us, since we are used to building things from scratch, is that it's very developer friendly. It doesn't try too much to hide code from you. So it doesn't add abstraction layers. So you have the UI, the SQL, and the JavaScript. That's it. So we are used to that. So it's very easy to get into, coming from where we come from. So with a developer's background. So another thing that also convinced us were actually 2 things. One was, when we started, we were missing some functionality in Appsmith, but the development cycle was so fast that nowadays, I think maybe there's one little thing maybe that we are still waiting for. You guys have it on your roadmap. And also the community. We were blown away by the community support, very nice people, very fast to respond, many tips for us to improve our work. And it was also, you guys have an awesome YouTube channel, so yeah, that helped us gain confidence, because when you choose a new product, you also have to feel comfortable risking going forward with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people discount the importance of community. Definitely something I'm a big believer in. We've just launched the portal as part of Hacktoberfest. We're looking for community template contributions so people can share more of that great work. And we're just going to continue to grow there. But, so we've talked a little bit about, the platform being developer centric, being really quick and easy to get set up, get started working on. Do you have any examples, like any practical or anecdotal examples of how Appsmith has helped your team go faster?
Not anecdotal, really, but pretty serious. We had a huge regulatory change, and the administrators were feeling insecure about how would that affect our customers. So in 1 week, we did a simulator with 2 sliders and then an input box and a calculating button. So we could see which clients were affected if you change some baseline factors. So that was, I can tell you, that was a huge win for us. Yeah.
So you just
really brought Appsmith to the front. Yeah.
Wow.
In 1 week, we had people discussing the impacts of that change. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Really good to hear. So you obviously you guys have been pretty successful there. So if there are other new Appsmith customers or people who are considering getting started using Appsmith, I'm wondering, with your expertise, do you have any advice you could offer to those folks so that they can get some of the great benefits that you've seen?
Well, I wouldn't call us experts, but okay, thanks. Well, just what I said earlier, build your confidence first, and then pursue your internal clients as you gain confidence. Practice makes perfect. So as you work with the platform, you learn the best ways of going about it. One thing we learned is being developers, we have this tendency to write lots of code. So with Appsmith, we feel that we have to reduce the code to a minimum. Use the platform capabilities and write the less code possible, because that's where you're going to have maintenance and refactoring needs. So reduce code to a bare minimum. And at this point, if things keep going well, I think they will, we are considering standardizing everything in Appsmith. And that will also make it easier to hire contractors to build or improve existing apps. And being standardized in one single platform will allow us to better and easier take control of things we contract outside.
Awesome.
So I think that's it, really.
So it sounds like get the practice, right? Use the tool, start small, build your confidence, deliver on the business wins, right? Make your team the hero. And I love that your advice is to, the platform is so developer focused and it gives you so much capability to write custom code that you actually have to resist the urge to write everything in custom code. I think that's actually really wise.
Yeah, really. That's something that came out that we noticed very recently, because we are migrating a SharePoint app to Appsmith, and so we have the two developers working at the same time with that. And when we meet and discuss the work that we already did, we came to that conclusion. So reduce the code. That's what we learned. Yeah.
That's good. Well, it's better to be too easy to do custom code than have that block you, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Well, Duarte, really appreciate you taking the time. I think that's about all we have for now. Thank you for sharing your experience with other people. I do think it'll be helpful. We're all trying to solve the very similar problems. We all have very similar challenges. So I think it's useful for people to hear from you and know that. So thanks again.
Yeah, glad to help.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you so much, Duarte, for your time and for that great interview. Isn't it inspiring to see Appsmith actually solving business problems and challenges? Well, for me, it is.
Yeah,
until now, go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thanks to Duarte for taking the time. And I think one of the things that's so great about that conversation is it's a microcosm of so many other conversations we've had with customers. Like the problems, a lot of people have very similar problems. They're not the same, but they're very similar. And the approach to solving them is Appsmith. It still makes me smile every single time when I asked him for his advice for everybody, and he's like, "Oh, it's too easy to write custom code. Like developers want to do, you've got to resist that temptation and try and keep it. Use the platform as much as you can, like leverage what's there." Like great advice, but also really great to hear as a developer that your challenge is going to be that you can write custom code, not that you can't, which is just really funny to me. I think it's great.
Exactly. And I think that's why we focus a lot on the low code portion. It is a no code. You can build an app without writing a single piece of code, but it's also low code. Like you actually have control over a lot of things. And like Duarte said, you can find yourself actually writing code for things that you didn't even need it. So you have to take a step back. Yeah, exactly. So until now, we have seen, for example, our product growth it's constant. Then our commitment to making it better and easier for everyone, it's also constant. Then we saw like our solution is secure and technically mature. Then we heard from actual customers how they solve real business problems and how adopting is easy by not having like a trail end period. So that's really cool. And then we have like a large community support. That's like the whole package over there, right? That we have seen until now, Ron.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great to see how all the pieces are working and fitting together. Although I think we've still got some more good stuff, like it's which is really cool too.
Exactly. And heads up, because right now, Joseph, which is another DevRel advocate from our team, is going to reveal 10 hacks and tricks to spark your creativity and productivity within Appsmith. So get ready for some amazing insights as Joseph is about to drop some knowledge bomb right here. Let's go.
All right, welcome back to Appsmith Innovate, part of our Hacktoberfest 2023 event. I'm Joseph, a senior developer advocate with Appsmith, and I'm excited to be here today bringing you 10 tricks in 10 minutes. So we're going to go through 10 different tricks that you can use in your apps, in your submissions for Hacktoberfest. We'll show you how each one of them works, then you can fork the app and actually use these tricks in your submission. So let's check out the video. We've got a dynamic menu button. Now this is a feature built into the menu button. It's not so much a hack or a trick, but it's a little tricky to figure out how to use it, and I've created a function that makes it a little easier. So we're going to take a look at how to automatically generate the options in a menu button based on your data, based on a condition or a function, and to populate those items in the menu. That's part of it, but then also how do you connect each option to a different function dynamically and have that just be generated from your data. So we'll look at how to use the dynamic menu button feature and feed it from your data. Now, the menu button has an option for a dynamic input. So this is a built-in feature. It's not so much a trick or a hack, but it's a little tricky to figure out how to use this in a way that's totally dynamic with different buttons. So you can see this one's hard-coded. This is a standard menu button using the static menu items, and it comes with these first, second, third, and then I added one. Here we've got a dynamic one, and this can be driven by your data. So you have a query that runs and you want it to show a different option for every department or some set of found records, and it's just going to update automatically based on the results, right? That's a dynamic menu button. So let's see how it works. First, the standard menu button, when you have it set to static, each one of these options are configurable. You can reorder them. You can change what actions they will do and how they look. But to use the dynamic one, once you select dynamic here, there's just this source data and then a configuration. So to use this properly, we'll look at this second button here. Now I've got a JS object that is returning a config. So this just wants some data. X number of rows, one for every button, and you can configure this however you want. It can be the results of your query, or it can be some extra setup. So what I'm doing, I've got this menu button config, and I've got 3 different functions with a label and a color. And then I have 3 different functions here that can be run. So this is just populating the list of items in my button. And then here's the 3 functions I want to run. All right. So on this menu button, you set it to dynamic and you give it some data. Now this has an array of objects with a label telling it what function to run and a color. On the style, I can reference that color on the individual button. So this is menu button 2, and if we go to configure the individual menu items, you'll see that the style is just referencing the current item.color. So in the array of data going into this dynamic menu button here, current item is just whichever entry in this set that you've provided. And so I can reference the color here to make each one of them have a different color per entry. The label is coming from that property. And then the on click says to go to JS object 1 and find the function named whatever that label is. So it's using bracket notation to dynamically reference some function inside JS object 1. This gets passed in, it finds that function, and then runs it. And so we're able to have different functions that run for each entry. And you'll see that this one says it ran function 1 and I'm showing it as an error. I show this one as a warning, and the final, all of these are just calling the same show alert, but with a different function, with a parameter saying to display it as a info or a warning or error. So you can see that each one ran a different function by name just by passing in that value. So if you've ever used the number slider, you've probably noticed that you have to manually type in all of the steps, the labels and the values if you want something besides those defaults. And if you're trying to go from say 0 to 100 with steps of 2 or 5, that's a lot to type out. And then if you decide you want to change that, then you've got to go change all of those steps again. So we're going to look at how to use Lodash to automatically populate those steps and keep it updated automatically if you change the min or the max or the step size. So the standard number slider here, if you want something different besides these 25, 50, and 75 marks, then you'll have to manually edit these steps in the marks here. And if you wanted to go every 2% or 5% all the way to 100, it would be a lot to type out here. And every time you change this, if you decide you want something different, you'd have to edit it again. So with this slider, if I change the step size here to 5, you'll see all the numbers automatically generate. You can change this to 10, and we go to steps of every 1. So this is updating automatically on the fly. And you can see there are no JS objects in this app. This widget is doing it by itself, by referencing itself. So I'm looking at the min, max, and the step size properties. And then I'm using Lodash. So Appsmith comes with Lodash. We have other libraries you can import, but Lodash is there by default. And the range function will create a range of values, starting at a min, going to some max, and using a step size. And then I map over that array. So this creates just an array of the range numbers, and then map that to an array of label values. All right, next up, we're going to look at how to run a function by name. So sometimes you want to take an input, and based on a condition, you want to process it one way, and then based on another condition, maybe you want to run it a different way, but you're still always wanting to take that same input and return it to the same output, right? So you've got these helper functions in the middle. That's what we're going to check out, how you can take the name of the function, find the right one, run it, and then return whatever function you want based on the name. All right, next up, we've got running a function by name. So sometimes you've got multiple functions. You want to take different inputs and run a different function on it based on some condition. So here I've got the min value from this data set. And then I've got a separate button for the max and a separate button for an average. But what if you needed to dynamically call a function and you had 10 or 20 or 100? If you want to just take the name of the function as a single input and find that function and run it. So that's what we're talking about here. We've got a drop down with a list of values, and by selecting a value here, it's going to run the function with that name. So rather than 3 or 4 or however many buttons, you can do this all with one widget. So let's check it out in the editor. And the trigger for this drop down here, it's saying to run a function, JS object 1, a function by name, and using bracket notation. So look here, and I've got a function that takes the name it's given. It's taking it from that select option, and it just runs this function. It's finding the function with that name and then running it. So the bracket notation says go to this object, JS object 1, and find the function with the name that I just passed in, and then run it. And I save that as a result back that's defined up here. So I define the result to begin with, and it's null. And then once the page loads, you can run any function to update that value. All right, next up, we're going to check out how to programmatically create HTML elements. So you can't directly access the DOM of the Appsmith app, of the editor, but you can create new elements and then add properties to those elements, change its attributes, customize it however you want, and then return that element and display it in an iframe. So we're going to see how you can first create different elements and then programmatically loop over some data, manipulate it, do something cool with it, and then display it in an iframe. All right, next we have creating an element using JavaScript. So what are we looking at here? We've got a map widget. There's some random numbers here. You can randomly generate new positions, and it plots the positions all over this background image here. So it's kind of a map widget with a XY plot. But that's not the trick here. This is just an example, one way that you can programmatically create elements using JavaScript. So let's see how this works in the editor. All right, I've got some sample data here. I have a function that runs on page load to populate it, and I've got a function that will generate the random array of data for me. So this is just a random. It generates a number within a range and gives me back an X and a Y and picks a person. So that's not the real trick here though. What I want to show you is that you can programmatically create an HTML element. So this function, this is going to take the data and it says div is document.createElement. Okay, you cannot access elements within the Appsmith editor here. Let me go to the inspector. And so all of these elements on the page of the app here, for security, you can't access that inside of the editor. You can't write a function that's going to start manipulating this code and bypass what your app logic is supposed to be doing. But you can create a new element. You can define a new div and then start to manipulate it and add style and loop over it and do different things. So here I am looping over the data, and for each point in that data, I'm adding a dot and giving it a position and a percent and a color. And then I'm able to loop over again and add the labels, and then finally return that element and display it in an iframe widget here. So the real trick is that you can programmatically create HTML elements, manipulate them, loop over data, and then return that final element and display it in an iframe. All right, next up we have object to table or list. So if you've ever had a row of data with a whole bunch of columns and you want to display it laid out side by side, you can do that one at a time with a bunch of different widgets, but one, it's difficult. It takes a long time to bind all of those. And two, it's not dynamic. So if your data changes, if the number of columns change, then your layout doesn't work anymore. So what we're going to do is look at a way to take your data and rotate it, kind of create a pivot table and take that one row of data, turn it into a bunch of rows so that you can display it in a table widget or a list. So let's say you've got a table with a bunch of columns, and rather than trying to display all of this sideways with this scroll, you want to be able to display it top to bottom. And there's a few different ways you can do this with a table widget or a list widget. It's a little tricky to understand the code, but it's very easy to just copy and paste it and use it. So we'll walk through how it works. You can start out with taking the selected row from a table, and then we're going to reduce that using JavaScript. Start out with an empty object, go over each column in the data and turn that into a new row so it can be displayed in a table widget or a list. All right, so this works by reducing an object to a row, and it takes an object and then it returns an array of property value pairs. Now, a reduce in JavaScript, a reduce function, it takes a function as the first parameter, and it takes a optional default value for the first loop. And so what this is doing says the first loop, start out with an empty array, and then go over every point of the data and run this function, which concatenates in new object with that label and value. And so by the last row, after it's gone through every point in the data, it's taking the keys from that object and reducing it to a new array. Now you can display this in a table widget easily just by referencing the data. Give it an object, turn it into an array of rows. In a list widget, you can connect the data to the list itself and then use individual widgets to bind to the current item and then whatever property. Here, I'm using the property for the left side to give everything a label, and all of the data points are on the right. But in case it's an image, I actually have an image version of it and then the text version, and I'm conditionally showing and hiding. So if I look at the preview here, and then you can see that there's not a bunch of blank image columns here. It's hiding the image when there isn't one, but you can conditionally show it in a list if it is an image type column. All right, next we have table summary row. So the table widget's awesome. It's got a bunch of cool features, but when it comes to displaying summaries of that data, you've got to write your own function and then figure out how to display it in there. So we're going to look at two different ways that you can display the summary data and calculate it. I've got options here for finding the number of unique values, the average, the min, the max, and then you can take those values and display it either as a new row in the table widget or display it separately in another widget. All right, have you ever wanted to add a row to the bottom of your table or maybe a separate row at the top showing all of the unique values or min, max, or total from each column? So we're going to see how to do that with JavaScript. You can build an interface like this that's a little more complex and lets the user select it, or you could just hard code it and put the max at the bottom of every row. So this is built pretty versatile that you can modify it and just pass in some parameters to change the functionality for your use case. All right, let's check it out in the editor. So I've got my table of data here. This is just the raw data, and I've got a separate file here for this sample data. So this just gives me a couple different data types, a list, a text, Boolean, and there's nothing else going on in this file, just the sample data. Here I've got a function that creates the table summary. So given the calc type, take this data and I tell it which column is the ID, because it doesn't really make sense to create a total or an average of your ID. And so that's where I display just the label of what it is I'm doing here. This says total in the ID column. And if I choose min, now it uses that position to say these are all min values. So that's what's going on there. And then I'm taking the keys from that first data set and looping over them. So as I loop over, the thing that I want to do with that value is dependent on the calc type. If I am working with a number or a Boolean, then here's how I'm going to handle it. And if it's a string, then I want to do it this way. So this is a nested logic using a switch that says for these file types, or data types rather, run this type of calculation during the loop. If it's a string, do this, and then if it's none of those, it will insert NA. At the end of that, then it takes that summary data and concatenates it onto the original data so that you get that extra row added to the table. Now I'm using Lodash here with multiple functions. I've got one that easily finds all the unique values from a column. There's a Lodash function to sort all of that and then pick the min or the max. I'm using count by here to get the total. And then head. This one is a little tricky, but check out the Lodash docs. We've got Lodash built into Appsmith by default. And if you look at the libraries over here, there's a link straight to the docs so that you can figure out how to use these functions. Like I said, this one is a little tricky. I'm not going to explain it on this call, but it basically chains all those together and gives you a cleaner way to write that format. All right, this one's one of my favorites. So the iframe has two different ways you can send messages back and forth. You can either post a message from the iframe out to Appsmith, or Appsmith can post a message to the iframe itself. So it's kind of like a single point of communication. And if you want to be able to run different functions or pass different data and do different things based on what data is sent, that's where we're going to check out. You can use that post message function from the iframe back to Appsmith and posting a message from Appsmith to the iframe and tell it what function to run. So we're going to look at a way to wrap your data and tell it what function you want it to run with that data, and then create kind of a two-way communication between Appsmith and the iframe, and you can tell it exactly what to do with the data. All right, next we have iframe two-way dynamic function calls. What is this about? So the iframe can support two-way communication. You can post a message into the iframe and it can post a message back to Appsmith. But what do you do with that data? And what if you want to do something different depending on the data? And you want to run one function for some use cases, and other times you want to post data out of the iframe and do something different with it. So that's what this is about. Here I've got this selected to update data in the iframe, and as I select a new row, it updates this data at the top half here. Now you'll see if I select update text, selecting a row is now updating this text down below. Both of these options are pushing data to the iframe, posting a message, but I'm also telling it what to do with that data. And so the iframe is behaving differently in each case. Now I've also got this working in the other direction. I can click save and we end up with the data here. I can clear this and now it knows that the function that was ran is clear and there is no data along with it because we've cleared it. Type something else in here and save. So now the function that was clicked is button save, and here's the data that goes with it. So you can handle it differently. Data going in and out dynamically and calling different functions based on some wrapper. You wrap the data with this object and you say that the function to run with it is button save or whatever you want to call it. Let's check out how it works in the editor. So you can see I've broken this into multiple files. I'm just using template literals and most of it's hard-coded. I pick up the app's primary color and then the rest of it's just hard-coded CSS. That gets merged in with the script and the source here. So I've got most of my HTML is hard-coded and then I just pick up these other files referenced as a inline style tag or an inline script tag. And then the script, the behavior of this iframe. So I've used the same technique as the dynamic function call in the dynamic menu, where I have an object that has multiple named functions inside of it. But instead of it being a JS object in Appsmith, it is a object in my code, in the iframe itself. So post functions is an object, and it contains named functions that you can run by name using post functions bracket notation and pass in that function name. Same approach, same technique, just inside the iframe. Now, when a message is received, we want to parse that data, see if it's an actual object and has a message.function property, and then look to see if there's a post functions with that name. So we receive a message, look for message.function, then look for a function with that name, and if there is one, run it and pass that message to it. So it can always take whatever one entry point, that same posting a message, and as long as it's an object and it has a dot function, then it will find that function and run it. Then we add an event listener so that every time a message is received, it will run this function. And then lastly, this part is the functionality inside the iframe to have that button for clearing or adding some sample text or saving. And this just posts a message to the parent window, back to Appsmith. So this says window.parent, which is Appsmith. It receives the message, and this second option here is just saying to allow from other domains. Did you know that the text widget can display HTML tags? All right, this one's pretty cool. So there's a few tags that'll work inside of a text widget. Not all of them, but there's some that are really useful. So we're gonna show you how to use it to add styling, even some kind of effects, and a few really unexpected ones I didn't think were gonna work. All right, next we have HTML tags inside a text widget. This one is crazy. There's some really cool stuff you can do here. All of this is one text widget. This header, I've got some plain text, then there's bold. These are separate stylings, but all one text widget. This horizontal rule and even this image are all inside a single text widget here. Okay, I've got some inline styling here on this one and even a details tag with an image in it. You can have these expanding collapse containers. This is just a text widget with a details tag. You can also do ordered and unordered lists. So let's check out how to set this up and what actually works and what doesn't, because you cannot use every HTML tag. There's a lot of things that are going to be blocked for security and that just wouldn't work in the app editor here. But when it comes to style tags, H tags, paragraph, horizontal rule, I'm using EM tags here for italics, and even an image tag, and the size works too. So this image was not the right size that I wanted, and I found that I could add the style tag because that was too big there. So you cannot do CSS on a text widget. You can't type some styles here after outside of the tag, but if you do it inside the tag as a style attribute, then it does work. You can even do inline styles here for color, font. You can do details tags. These expand and collapse. So you've got details wrapping the entire element, and then a summary to show the text when it's collapsed, and then some inner content. And you can put whatever other tags you want inside of here. Also got ordered and unordered lists, so there are tons of options. Keep in mind that the images, that's kind of a surprise there that this works. It's not officially supported, but it looks like it's working, so a lot of cool things you can do with it. Love to see what the community comes up with. Let us know how you use this. All right, next we have data-driven SVGs. I got a little help from ChatGPT on this one and came up with a few templates for an SVG and then used JavaScript to swap out certain parts of it and make it dynamic so that I can select different rows of my data and then generate SVGs. I've got two different cool use cases to show you, but I'm sure there are a ton more you guys can come up with. This app is taking data and automatically on the fly generating these images right there in the user's app. So these images, these initials and these tags here, they're not images on a server somewhere. They're just generated as needed on the fly from your data. And I've got this set up to automatically pick colors with proper contrast. It picks the exact same color for the same word every time, but a different color for the next word, different for casing as well. And so every time Michael comes up here, it'll be red. Every time Jim comes up, it's blue. But you don't have to think about that. And the contrast is set, it's automatic. I got a lot of help from Taurus on our design team for this one. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited to show you guys how it works. All right, first I have a function that converts a string to a number. It just takes the string, adds up all the character codes, and then it finds the modulus of that total there. I'm using 46 because there's 45 colors, and I want it to roll over after that last one. It finds the color that corresponds to this number. So a string has some unique value that it adds up to. Then I roll that number around for X number for each color here, and every number becomes a color. Then I've got two different functions, one for the fills or the tags and one for the initials. Each of them just take the input string. I'm either going to split it by commas for the tags or turn it into initials for the circles. And so once I know the text string, then I merge it in an SVG using template literals and just fill in the color, the text, the background, and return it, and then display it in a table or list widget or even an image widget directly. And finally, we have nested forms. So some of you may have seen the collapsible containers or the stepped container that we've shared in Discord before. This is kind of a variation on that. It combines a whole bunch of different techniques to create a form with sections that you can expand and collapse. There's validation checks for each individual section. We've got a slider across the top that shows the progress, and everything's wired and connected. So it's really cool. I'm excited to share this one. So you may have seen the collapsible containers or the stepped container that we shared in the community recently. This is a similar technique. It's a little more advanced. It's got a bunch of different things tied together. And the end here is that we've created sections to a form where each section can be expanded and collapsed. You can navigate by the slider across the top, or you can individually open and close the sections here. There's also validation for each section. So as this section becomes valid, the checkbox appears here, and you can advance from within the step. This collapses step 1 and opens step 2. Now this one's valid and checked off, and it advances to the next one. So all of this is wired together for a really cool effect of a stepped form. Let's check out how it works. I started out by defining this initial state where some section is selected and they are all collapsed. So initially all these are false, and then which one is selected. And then I have a function that says, if this is your current selection and this is the one you want to go to, then you just set the show state. Set one of them to true, set the other one to false, and then update this selected section. And that helps display it. Right here on this category slider, I want to be able to show the default one and have that update automatically. And so its default value is that selected section. And as I change that with all of these triggers, on click keeps saying run that function and update that selected section. And so I can show and hide the green. The green containers are the widget that's being shown and hide optionally. And then the red container here, this is auto hide. So as its contents, the green, is hidden, then the red container collapses. And so the effect is, as you're in this view here, you can conditionally show and hide the contents, and all of those will expand and collapse. Now, I've got triggers coming from the title here, or from the slider, or from the next button in the form. And they're all connected to show and hide and expand different sections. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this session of Appsmith Innovate. Let's check back in with the team and see what's up next.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Jesus, man. I mean, Ron, Joseph never stops to surprise me, to be honest. Like, it's just every time I have an interaction with Joseph, I learn so much cool stuff.
Yeah, that's why I put a note, comment that don't try and take notes or worry too much about following on. Just know what can be done. You can come back to the videos later and dig in. And it's that's why I said, Joseph's kind of our resident mad scientist, because he just has so many creative ideas about how to do stuff and get so much out of the platform.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone who's still watching, let us know in the comments if you knew or have done any of these tricks that Joseph just showed us. I personally didn't knew lots of them, and I just learned a lot. And also one cool stuff, Joseph, it's, myself being a fan of The Office, I love the references
I do
and
too.
Easter eggs that Joseph normally puts about The Office in all his demos. I mean, it's just really nice.
Yeah, super great stuff.
So we got another session, and I'm going to leave Ron to let us know, because Ron is going to own it. It's about our community features, but, I'll let Ron to introduce it.
Yeah, thanks, man. So this is something that's is actually pretty near and dear to my heart, and that's the topic of reusability. So that's something we've been working on. When we rolled out our updated roadmap earlier this year, there were some things that were on it that were on the commercial edition. Some of the stuff for the community edition weren't there yet, so there are some questions from the community. So we wanted to go ahead and put some of this together at a high level, just to kind of talk about what's coming specific to reusability, how that's going to affect you regardless of which edition you're using, and then also hopefully helping to understand how those decisions were made and the strategy behind it, because we really are trying to focus on making sure to find a good balance between serving the community on the one hand and giving you all the tools you need to do what you need to do, while also being able to provide some more advanced or some more complex tooling that an organization would need that someone in the community probably wouldn't want. So that's what we're going to talk about now. Hi, everybody. My name is Ron Northcutt. I'm the head of DevRel here at Appsmith, and today we're going to be talking about reusability. This is a really big, important topic, something I feel very passionately about. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. And today we're going to be talking about this in a few different ways. First, we're going to talk about the strategy that we have on how we're approaching reusability, how we're thinking about it, why we're even doing that at all, and what that means to you. Then we'll talk about reusability on the community edition perspective, as well as the business edition perspective. And don't worry, we're going to talk about why there's kind of two different approaches, how those fit together, and why you should even care. All right, let's jump right in. So our strategy for reusability, and really why the focus on reusability, in a word, speed. The Appsmith platform already helps you go really fast to build and deploy apps quicker than you can anywhere else, and being very developer focused. So developers love to use it, but there's still lots of things that we can do to go faster. Reusability is an important topic because it allows you to take existing work that you did and use it over and over and over again, which is a cornerstone of modern software architecture, no matter what you're doing. This also allows you to do things like standardize certain work across different applications, allows you to share different reusable work with the community and discover work that other people have done, things that could help you go faster and do cooler things. And from a business perspective, that also allows us to improve governance and the maintainability of the applications across the whole organization. So let's talk a little bit about the two different editions, how they fit together, and why we have slightly different strategies that interlock together across both. On the community side, we're taking a really template-based approach, which is focused on helping you build applications very, very quickly. So the focus here is on discovery. It's on allowing us to quickly and easily create and share reusable work across the community, be able to find that work and be able to take it in to build our own applications quickly and easily across the entire platform. And really, because of the fact that we don't know what your organization, what your team, what your needs are, we're really looking at very, very simple workflows that are going to work for everybody, no matter what. Let's keep the complexity down. Let's make the tools as simple and as powerful as possible, put those in the hands of the community, and do some great work. On the business side, we have some other things that we have to think about. And the focus on the business side is really about the organization. So we're taking a slightly different approach that works together, and that is to create packages of reusability. We'll talk about that in a minute. This means that we can focus on governance of reusability within an organization, within a department, across multiple teams, etc. Now, this is all optimized for maintainability. This is a problem that you're going to see across any type of application development in a large organization. Typically, the more you do, the slower things get. So we want to try and keep that overhead as low as possible, drive that governance, drive that maintainability, and be able to support more advanced workflows that are going to be customized for a specific organization. Now, why are there two different approaches? Well, you want to have the right tool for the right job. The focus from a community level is a little bit different than the focus from a business level. And there is compatibility, but we need to support both of those properly. From a community perspective, we really want to look at discovery, sharing, finding new things, sharing them with each other, making sure they're going to work regardless of how your organization is set up. From a business perspective, the organizational management piece becomes really, really critical. And we want to make sure that we can provide the tools and the capabilities for an organization to manage and focus their applications at scale across the entire organization. And that's something that is very specific and very important that may not necessarily be important to everyone in the community. So we don't want to take the business needs and force that complexity and that overhead on the community. We also don't want to limit the business by just providing for the community. We need to provide for both, and at the same time ensure that we have compatibility and coordination between both sides. And we've got some really great approaches to this as we're going to dig into right now. So let's start with a community edition. As I mentioned before, this is really focused on discoverability. It's focused on sharing, and it's kind of based on this idea of a template. So today, right now in the community edition, we have some really great reusability. On the templates front, we've had personal forkable templates since Q2 of this year, which means that you can take any application, you can make it forkable to anyone who has access to it, internally, externally, private templates, public templates. And Q3, we've just rolled out the beginning features for allowing us to publish and share those forkable templates with the community. So that means that from within the platform itself, if you go to share, you can publish a template, fill out a little form, and then that's going to be published on our community portal for other people to find, to use, to rate, etc. So this community template library is brand new, just came out, and we're really excited about where we see the community going with this. Now, on the same side, though, we also have JavaScript library support. So earlier this year in Q1, we rolled out support for UMD libraries. And in Q3, we just rolled out support for ESM libraries. If you don't know the difference between those, don't worry about it. You can check our documentation. There's also a really good blog post on our portal, community.appsmith.com. Go check it out. It'll explain all the details there for you. The other interesting thing is we also have the ability to support custom libraries. And that can be something that you've either registered with NPM or something else, or you can actually create your own. And again, I won't go into that. There's some details about that on our portal that you can check out. Now, when you look at these, though, we've got templates and forkable templates and community template library, and we've got libraries. There is a missing piece, and this missing piece is the thing that we're really excited and we've already started working on right now. And that is reusability below the page level. So we have templates allow you to reuse entire apps or entire pages. Libraries allow you to reuse JavaScript code and other libraries from the entire world of JavaScript. But in between is what we're building out now. And these are the building block templates. Building block templates build on the same template system, only instead of importing and exporting an entire application, we're only importing and exporting a piece of it. So you'll have the ability to go in and choose which parts of an application you want to bundle together as a building block. That could be widgets that are configured, that could be JavaScript code, that could be queries and data sources, etc. And it's a super fast, super easy way to take bits of work that you're using and bundle those together and share those out with your organization, with your team, or with the world. Now, I know that sounds like that encompasses pretty much everything that you would need, and from a certain perspective, it does. And that's one of the big goals that we have that's driving this initiative, is ensuring that our community edition is still able to support you in doing everything you need to do and keeping it open and valuable for everyone in the community. However, there's still more that we can do. So let's talk a little bit about the business edition and how we're taking that idea of reusability and we're up-leveling it specifically for large organizations who need more than just what building blocks, templates, and libraries can provide. So this idea we mentioned earlier, this idea of a package, the idea here is that we can take bits of reusability, and we'll talk about what some of those might be in a moment, and we can put them together into a package. Now, a package is different from a template or a building block in that it has versioning, you have update notifications, potentially could have the ability for automatic updates, and it kind of lets you create your own private library of reusable items. So there's additional layers of functionality here that the community doesn't need, but an organization does in order to manage their own group of packages and reusable pieces internally. Now, before I talk too much more about this, I just want to put out a warning. These plans are in flux, okay? We're very clear on the goal. We know that we want to do packages. We're really excited about what we're doing, what we've already started doing, but this is a much bigger piece that we haven't worked on as long as we have with templates. So there's a lot of work we need to do still with customer feedback, user research, real-world testing, and careful consideration of what's going on. A lot of this is already taking place. In fact, I know that some of you watching this right now today have actually already talked to some of our teams about some of the ideas that we have, some of the things that we've already done, and some of the things we're thinking about. and that's going to continue. So here's just a quick snapshot of what we're talking about from the business perspective with what these packages might be able to contain. If you're interested in learning more, if you want to be part of this user research customer feedback cycle, definitely reach out to us about that. If you have specific ideas about what you'd like to see or what would make your life so much better, definitely reach out to us. Let us know. We always love to get feedback, and we try and take that and bundle it with the best of the best to give you exactly what you're looking for. So what are some of the things that could go inside one of these packages that could be versions, that could have updates, and that could build a private repo inside your organization of reusable pieces? Well, things like the building block templates, right? The things that we already have in the community edition, we can take those and we can put those inside of packages. So now we can take the work that's being done to help build things quickly and help start things quickly, and we can kind of wrap some versioning and some update features around that to add additional functionality on top of what may already be there. Reusable queries. This is actually something, both of these are items that are currently underway, potentially coming out in this quarter. We know building blocks for sure. Reusable queries looks like it might be as well. On top of that, we have things like custom JavaScript logic. This kind of takes that idea of the libraries to another level by not only providing more functionality, but making it easier to create your own custom JavaScript libraries and reusable JavaScript code across an organization faster and easier than you might in some other ways. Reusable custom UI components. Right now today, the expectation is you can take a building block and you can create combinations of widgets. You can even do completely custom iframe components that we see people do all the time and make those reusable with building block templates. However, once we start talking about what an organization might need, what might make it faster and easier, there's quite a few things that we can do there to improve not only the experience, but to give us, again, more of that governance and more of that oversight that we need from an organizational level to make it faster and easier to create those custom UI components to extend the system beyond what you may need in the community level. There's also lots of other things that we're talking about, things that people have asked for, things like custom CSS. There's other features that we have in our backlog we've been looking at for some time. Again, all of this stuff is up for grabs. Some of it may happen, some of it may not, some of it may come in different ways and different times, but keep an eye on the roadmap. We're updating that on a regular basis, and you're gonna see these different pieces start to come out in 2024. You're also gonna see this packages concept start to coalesce out of all of these pieces to pull them together to make it easier for you to do what you wanna do. That's been a lot in a short amount of time. I know people have already seen some of these things on the roadmap. I know there's been questions about how we're thinking about reusability from a community perspective, from a business perspective. Hopefully this helps to give you some clarity across that, let you know what we're thinking and how we're approaching it. You know, one thing I can say for sure is there is a lot of thought and a lot of focus on doing this the right way for our customers, making sure that we're providing the best of the best out there for you. And again, just to reiterate, if you have any feedback, if you have any thoughts, if you want to take part in some of these discussions, this is a community. So find us on Discord, reach out to your account manager, your sales rep, customer success. If that's something that if you're a customer of ours, get in touch with us and we'd love to work with you, take your feedback, and see what we can do to make things even better. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Ron, thank you so much for going through all of that. It was an amazing journey throughout the different things that we got for reusability, templating, and obviously people also contributing back and creating their own templates even and sharing them, which is something that we're going to talk in a little bit about Appsmith and how you can contribute and create your own templates and share with the entire Appsmith community, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, this is one of those big things about how we can make it even faster, even easier, and then not just for you inside your organization, but also with the community, right? I think I posted that earlier. Community really is a superpower, and it's one of those great strengths that we have. So trying to leverage that and help each other as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. So we're getting close to the end here. We just went through a lot of the different things, and I'm really excited because I'm still seeing people, letting us know where they're connecting from and put their comments on the chat. They're very interested about the roadmap and how to do things, and it's great to see people from all over the world again connecting, letting us know where they are from and how excited they are about the different things. I mean, Appsmith is a global community, and this is the perfect showcase about it. People from all over the world connecting in a single moment to learn and grow about Appsmith itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good place to be.
Definitely. So let's just go through the different things that we just talked today, and let's take a quick moment to review the amazing agenda we just had. So first of all, one of our founders, Abhishek, shares some incredible company updates, showcasing our growth, customer stories, and our ever expanding community. It's been an exciting year for us, and Abhishek also discussed the latest trends in internal tools, providing valuable insights into where the industry is headed. Then Nikhil walked us through our roadmap, giving us a sneak peek into the exciting features and themes we're working on for 2023 and 2024. I mean, the future looks so bright for the different things that we're building for. Arpit also reminds us why Appsmith is trusted by enterprise and security conscious organizations. Our commitment to security is unwavering. Then we heard from real world users. We shared their experiences and the incredible use cases we built with Appsmith. I mean, it is truly inspiring. Then Joseph definitely wowed us with the Appsmith hacks and tricks that will ignite your creativity. And don't forget to check out the community templates that accompany these tricks. And all of the videos and all the things that we learned today are going to be uploaded to YouTube, so you can revisit them and maybe put pause and do the things that Joseph's been doing. So don't worry, all of those will be on YouTube. Then Ron, who's joining us today, also unveiled the power of reusability and our new community library. And now, as we close this extraordinary event, I want to share some important next steps for you all. First and foremost, I want you to invite everyone to sign up for our community portal and library. Let me pull up again here the QR code so you can easily access it. The community portal is the heartbeat of our community, the place where you can connect with fellow Appsmith enthusiasts. Now we have the ability to like, to save to your bookmarks, to comment, to share your thoughts about the different articles that we are writing. And also you can write, if you become part of the community and actually want to contribute back, you can also be able to write articles over there and unite the discussions. Next, we also took a look at the public roadmap. Let me pull that up here so you can easily access it as well. This is where you can see the exciting directions we're headed and even contribute your ideas and to shape our product. Also, want to invite you all. Every Thursday, we have live streamings like this one. We got a fantastic lineup, including live sessions, codings. Like actually next week, Joseph and myself, we're going to be here actually doing live coding, like from scratch. We're not going to have anything. It's not going to be pre-prepared. It's not going to be pre-anything. We're just going to get here without anything, and we're going to build something completely ready to share with everyone. So if you want to stay in the loop and know more about the different events that are coming up every Thursday, just go to events.appsmith.com and you will see all of the different events happening over there. Also, we're going to have Ask Me Anything sessions. So yeah, definitely just go there and engage with the Appsmith events. Also, don't miss out our monthly newsletter. It's packed with updates, tips, and exclusive content. So sign up and stay in the loop. You can sign up in our website, but also if you just go to LinkedIn and follow us over there and follow the newsletter, we also make sure to publish the newsletter in your LinkedIn so you never missed out. So definitely right now it's the chance to give back to open source and win some fantastic prizes and swag. To get involved and contribute, if you want to join the Oktoberfest, we are in full swing right now. Also, I'm going to put it here. That's the Oktoberfest mechanism to join. Just scan the QR code or also go to hacktoberfest.appsmith.com and you will be able to join. We're still there. You have time. You can build your app. I mean, with all of the tips that Joseph gave us and everything that Ron has been sharing, I think you're in a good spot to join, learn, and contribute back to open source, right, Ron?
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of opportunities there. And again, we have some Hacktoberfest calls and events, some that you can go back and check a look at. There's some tips there, some ideas on some things that could be useful to contribute. But definitely join us, reach out, and we'd love to help you get going.
Definitely. So I think we're getting close to the end here. Thank you all for being part of this incredible day here at Appsmith Innovate. We can't wait to see what you'll create with Appsmith, and we're here to support you on every step all the way. So Ron, thank you so much for joining me today in this amazing event. And I don't know if you have any closing words for our community.
I just really appreciate everybody being here and taking part. It's the reason we do it, is to help people and to do some fun stuff and enjoy the life we can do along the way. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Until next time, keep innovating, keep building, and keep Appsmithing. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.